The Jackson Foundation is proud to present Tennessee's Wild Side, created by the foundation 2 decades ago to educate viewers about wildlife, natural resources, and opportunities for outdoor adventure. With support from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, promoting wise uses of Tennessee's agricultural and forest resources to develop economic opportunities and ensure safe and dependable food, fuel, and fiber for all citizens. And from Tennessee State Parks, where you can camp by the riverside, retreat to the mountains, and escape the busyness of life. From Memphis to Kingsport, you'll find the perfect adventure in Tennessee State Parks.
Coming up, we'll update construction on a West Tennessee Greenway being built as part of a mission to protect the river. Then time travel to see how that same stream has remained wild. Then find out how trained professionals remain ready to help injured animals. And end it with a song that brings back childhood memories of outdoor adventure as we explore the wonders of the wild side. Hi friends, welcome to the Wild Side. I'm Steve Hall. Some of you may have heard the old song by Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi, or more specifically the words, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot, and you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Well, there's an organization in Memphis that's been working for more than 35 years to make sure that never happens to the Wolf River. For 10 of those years, the Wolf River Conservancy has been working with governments and other agencies to build one of the most remarkable greenways anywhere in the country. And as we check in on the challenges of construction, we are reminded that the overall mission is preservation. The Wolf River in its upper regions is still wild, winding naturally, flowing freely through banks unblemished by man-made machinery.
Many people in my line of work, we enjoy wilderness, we enjoy being out there by ourselves, canoe through vast swamps, there's places to hunt and fish, no trails per se, it's get your boots on and go.
But a waterway in the wilderness is not appealing to everyone, and that helps explain the construction going on alongside a channelized section of the Wolf River through Shelby County and the city of Memphis.
It was all mission driven and just people came to the mission.
It's part of a greenway project that gives people easy access to one of the state's most significant natural resources.
Anyone can enjoy this, and is for everyone in the community to come and be a part of this place. You can't get people to want to save something if they don't know what they're about to lose.
There's nothing like this, especially in West Tennessee. This project is about 1 mile in length, and it connects a part of the existing Wolf River Greenway to the Shelby Farms Green Line.
The Green Line is an old train thoroughfare where rails have been converted to trails.
This is about a $5 million construction phase that the Wolf River Conservancy has funded and taken on as part of the overall 26-mile Wolf River Greenway that will eventually go from Germantown all the way to Mud Island downtown.
Construction of the Wolf River Greenway was initiated in 2010. Some sections totaling about 12 miles are already complete, and this current phase of construction combines the task of building a bridge and also a boardwalk.
This project has a lot of layers of complexity, from the planning all the way to the execution stage where you're going through a state protected natural area. We've had to traverse city, county property. We have a project that's split in half by a river, which you're going to build a bridge across. I really like to say that this is 3 projects in one, being that the first project is a 270-foot bridge across the Wolf River. And that in and of itself is a pretty remarkable feat. The bridge is prefabricated in Alabama in 5 sections. It's shipped up here along with the 2 towers. And the towers, along with the cables, will help to hold the span of the bridge. What we saw earlier was the abutments that are being poured for the bridge.
Each abutment has 15 pillars of square steel driven 50 feet into the ground.
On top of that, there's a rebar cage, which will be then encapsulated in concrete. So it's a pretty large endeavor on the part of the Wolf River Conservancy.
Equally challenging is construction of the boardwalk across land considered almost sacred to protectors of the environment.
This landscape that we're going through is a protected landscape. We're in a state natural area, the Lucius Birch State Natural Area. 2,500 linear feet of boardwalk. It will take approximately 110 truckloads of panels and curbs to be delivered from the precast manufacturer in Florida to get this built.
Each panel weighs 4,000 pounds on a typical panel. There are some specialty panels that will be just a little bit heavier than that. Not much, probably another 10%, 5,000 to 6,000 pounds maybe. I've worked in every aspect of construction over the last 20, almost 25 years. And this is by far the most beautiful of all of the projects I've worked on. It's in a wetlands project. We've had to take a little bit more concerning care for the land. A minimal tree, minimal ground disruption.
We wanted to make sure that whatever we do as a group and as an organization, that we don't cause any detrimental impacts to the environment. So by elevating the boardwalk, we're allowing for the animals to pass freely underneath and also the floodwaters.
While the construction crew continues to place panels on the boardwalk, the Conservancy's Director of Land Conservation, Ryan Hall, takes time to hang a house for screech owls. It's a tradition for the organization to provide shelter from the elements for all kinds of winged creatures, including bats.
The wildlife, we're here every day in and day out. We see owls, hawks, squirrels, deer, turkeys, just an array of wildlife to be seen here.
It's highly unusual for such heavy construction to be permitted in a protected state natural area, but this is a highly unusual project.
My job, I'm concerned with ecological impacts to animals and plants and so on. And we looked at the data, and there aren't any rare species along this boardwalk, so that was good. I found that there was going to be very little impacts, and if there are any impacts, it was just a temporary impact. The Greenway could have went on the west side of the river, but there were too many complications there. This was the best fit to put this Greenway through the Lucius Birch State Natural Area. So I was all behind it, of course. The biggest user groups are going to be recreationists, runners, joggers, bikers, and so on. So this is going to have a very positive impact on this natural area, and as well as the Shelby Farms Park.
The boardwalk is also designed to be accessible for people with disabilities. A half-mile of asphalt trail is the third part of this construction phase.
The best part about it is this is all donation-funded project. There's no tax dollars involved in the building of the project.
The Greenway gives the Conservancy a chance to keep promoting the importance of the Wolf River.
The number one mission is to obviously protect the Wolf River watershed and what a resource that is in terms of drinking water for the city of Memphis. We're standing above an aquifer called the Memphis Sands Aquifer, and it's one of the greatest aquifers in the United States in terms of the volume of water and the amount of clean water that it has to be withdrawn. So Wolf River Conservancy is very dedicated toward the protection of lands, and to date they've protected over 18,000 acres of land within the Wolf River watershed.
These woods that we see around us were part of my life. I grew up playing in these forests, and just that feeling of wanting to do something for the community. And from a selfish standpoint, I wanted to see it preserved or protected, or just that sense of ownership that you wanted to see it not go away and not change, I guess.
Seen here canoeing a remote region of the river back in 2004, Larry Smith is a lawyer with a long history of protecting the watershed. He was the first executive director of the Conservancy. Today, he's in charge of pollution control for Shelby County, and he's no less diligent in his desire to defend this irreplaceable natural resource against ongoing threats.
This is like any other urban river. It has its level of burdens and insults, if you want to call it that. Urban expansion, pollution discharges, river degradation that was channelized back in the 60s, and then development pressure, which is the pressure on the forest, to tear down the forest, fill in the floodplain, and develop it. So all those things had happened on a beautiful little creek back in the day called Nonconna Creek. We saw it pretty much disappear as an ecological entity, and the Wolf River was still here. So we kind of had that as our go-to. We don't want that to happen, to basically be urbanized out of existence. And things like greenways and trails like this that's a doorway to that kind of education to the people who live in a community who may not really understand what they're about to lose. So when you see a place like this and it's easy to get to and it's a fun experience, when the next problem or next threat comes about, you have a population that knows, okay, that's an important place to save, that's an important place to meet, because you've been there and you've seen it.
12 miles of the Wolf River Greenway are now open to the public. 3 more miles are under construction, and 10 miles are still in the planning process. But the project is expected to be completed within 3 to 4 years. While engineers and construction crews are working toward the future, we want to take you back into the past. Larry Smith, the man you met in the Greenway story, took us on a tour of the Wolf River back in 2004. He wanted to show us what all had been lost, but also what had been preserved. That was on Wildside way back.
There is nothing quite like the Wolf. Unchanged over hundreds of years, the Serpentine River meanders through lowland swamp, vast water prairies, and ancient cypress bogs on its slow journey to the Mississippi River. Some sections of the Wolf River entice paddlers to weave through tree trunks and low-hanging branches, giving it a wild, almost primordial feel.
It's sad what we've lost, but it's also wonderful what we've preserved. But you know, what was here, and a lot of people don't realize what animals did live here were, we had red wolves, we had mountain lions, we had black bears, we had elk, and we had woodland bison. Animals like that flourished here for thousands of years, and they're all gone. So kind of what we have here is a remnant of that, which is kind of nice and interesting. But when you float a place like this, it makes you kind of think, at least in my mind, what somebody 300 years ago would see.
In its upper reaches, the hypnotically unique Wolf River narrowly escaped the channelization that destroyed many of western Tennessee's major rivers, as well as a more recent plan to clear-cut the land adjacent to the river.
Channelization is basically taking all the bends out of a river, where river meanders gently back and forth. They just set a straight line and just dig perfectly straight, as straight a ditch as they can.
Unfortunately, this practice destroys the wetlands. As all the water is drained out, wildlife dwindles and the natural filtration system that cleanses the water is destroyed.
There's only 2 rivers in West Tennessee that hadn't been channelized. The Upper Wolf, that's half of that river, and the Hatchie.
In 1995, a 4,000-acre tract of bottomland hardwood along the Wolf River was purchased after a dramatic, last-minute fundraising effort by the newly formed Wolf River Conservancy. The critical habitat cost over $4 million and is now a state-managed natural area.
This is a continuing journey. We've kind of developed a 3-pronged approach with the Conservancy. We do acquisitions. We buy land and take it under conservation easement. Education, we do a lot of work with the schools, and we do advocacy with a voice for the river.
2 of the strongest voices for the wolf belong to Larry Smith and Naomi Van Tol. They know this section of the river like the back of their paddles because of the countless hours spent leading groups and teaching children the importance of preserving wetlands and wildlife.
And it's only been in the last 30 years we've discovered that wetlands are actually very important. Wetlands just like this are very important for water quality reasons, wildlife. Things live up here that we pretty much lost in West Tennessee, like the freshwater mussel populations. There's 25 species of mussels that are up here, and those things are endangered worldwide.
Endangered and mighty hard to find, unless you've got the experts along.
I've got them! This is called the fragile paper shell.
The abundance of mussels that are found in the Wolf is a good indication that the river is healthy.
Freshwater mussels are like a canary in a coal mine. They're the first animal to be affected when you have pollution in the water. They're extremely sensitive to any type of pollution.
The most beautiful piece of river to explore is located between the small communities of LaGrange and Moscow. This remote section of the Wolf is referred to as the Ghost River because no discernible river channel is found as the water slowly creeps through a vast cypress swamp.
This is just the most unique river, really it is.
Fortunately for paddlers who might otherwise find themselves hopelessly lost, the Wolf River Conservancy has strategically placed reflective markers to show the way. But even though the Ghost River section of the Wolf is marked, paddling it requires a sense of adventure and a knowledgeable crew.
That's another neat thing about it. You got to pay to play. You have to want to do it. There's no way to shortcut it. The only two public inputs and outtakes are, 14 miles apart.
Aside from lots of space, there are lots of animals to see on the Wolf River. Beaver huts are hard to miss, even if you don't see the furry occupants.
Great egrets migrate through, which is really neat for me to see because I'm used to seeing all these dark colored birds, and to see a white bird in a green tree is pretty spectacular. But they're only in the fall. We don't see them year round. Green herons live here all year round. They're quite shy. You don't always see them because they blend in really well with the background.
You don't usually see snakes either, but if you look hard enough at overhanging tree branches or along the riverbank, you have a very good chance of a close encounter of the reptilian kind.
But normally they'll drop off as soon as they see people. They're very timid. They won't hang around.
Some people come to the Wolf River to angle for fish or hunt for ducks, but others come in search of something far more elusive, a true wilderness experience.
With all the times that I've been on it, I always find something new, and it's always beautiful and different. You get the different water levels, different times of year. I'm never bored with it. I could do the same section every day.
I'm Holly Sherwin on Tennessee's Wild Side.
The more you get outside, whether it's on a greenway or in a forest, the more likely you are to see wildlife. And at some point in time, you may come across an injured animal. Obviously, you don't want to put yourself in a position to be injured, and you may need to contact someone who is licensed in wildlife rehabilitation. Members of the National Wildlife Rehabilitators Association receive a lot of training in ways to help.
Survival every single day is a daunting challenge for animals in the wild. Finding food and shelter, escaping predators, and enduring unnatural encounters with what is perhaps the greatest threat of all to their existence: people.
The challenges of wildlife living in urban sprawl and in pollution and in oil spills and on it goes. Cutting down trees, cleaning out chimneys, just anything and everything you can imagine affects wildlife.
Yet an injured or orphaned animal's last hope is sometimes a member of the human species, a licensed rehabilitator trained and qualified to provide emergency care. In fact, it is inappropriate and even illegal for anyone other than a licensed professional to take in a wild animal.
Any healthcare provider, we feel, needs support, needs networking, needs training, needs education, needs inspiration and rejuvenation.
And that's what caregivers are getting here in Murfreesboro at a meeting of the National Wildlife Rehabilitators Association.
We have just an incredible amount of useful information for everybody who works on wild animals and rehabilitates them, no matter if it's from mammals to birds to reptiles or amphibians.
The healthcare and rehabilitation of wildlife today requires extensive expertise and knowledge.
This field has gone from the back room to the surgery room. It's no longer what it used to be. The sharing of information, the techniques, the procedures, medications, skills.
From learning to detect diseases with a microscope to building strong and safe cages, rehabbers are learning to provide quality care on a budget that often depends on donations.
Very few people get paid to do this, so we're all about what we can get done for free or for cheap that actually works and actually works for the animal.
Staying current is critical, whether it's knowing about the latest and most affordable equipment or the proper food needed to restore an animal's health. Rehab specialists also get training in the expanding world of social media to share information with a wider audience.
The whole theme of the conference is wildlife rehabilitation, the next generation. Who's coming along behind us to fill our shoes and care for these animals?
But with this generation or the next, the mission remains the same.
The goal of any rehabilitation effort is to get that animal back to its home in the wild.
An opportunity to return an animal to its home again, as far away from people as possible, is a strong motivator.
I think it all started with the basic feeling here and the basic feeling here many years ago. It's a passion, it's a calling. I can't describe it beyond that, I think.
Musical compositions by Americana singer-songwriters Lana Puckett and Kim Person are often described as music written in the key of life. When you put together their creativity with childhood imaginations and adult memories, you get a song in the spirit of a great outdoor adventure. They say they do what they do to nourish the souls of all those who listen.
Just me and my kid brother and a whole other time, when a Coke was a nickel and moon pies a dime. Just two little bandits with an old yellow stray, back in our cornstalk pony days. On make-believe horses together we'd ride, from out in the Badlands to the Western Divide. Just two desperados with 6 guns ablaze, back in our cornstalk pony days. Cornstalk pony, my faithful old friend, I can still feel your spirit as strong as the wind. Somewhere we'll saddle up again and ride off into the haze, back to our cornstalk pony days. Now we never dreamed we'd live to see the fences close the range, and we never thought the wide open space would ever change, or that Cisco and Poncho would ever go their separate ways. Back in our cornstalk pony days. Cornstalk pony, my faithful old friend, I can still feel your spirit as strong as the wind. Somewhere we'll saddle up again and ride off into the haze, back to our cornstalk pony days. Keep a moving, Dan, won't you listen to him, Dan? He's the devil, not a man, and he spreads the burning sand with water, water.
Kim and Lana seem to have a lot in common with some other cowgirls, like Tanya and Reba. All are award-winning artists who help make our world just a little bit better. Thank you for joining us. We hope you are inspired to appreciate and protect our natural resources. And if you have to choose sides, always choose the wild side.
Tennessee's Wild Side has been a presentation of the Jackson Foundation, educating viewers about wildlife, natural resources, and opportunities for outdoor adventure, with support from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, promoting wise uses of Tennessee's agricultural and forest resources to develop economic opportunities and ensure safe and dependable food, fuel, and fiber for all citizens. And from Tennessee State Parks, where you can camp by the riverside, retreat to the mountains, and escape the busyness of life. From Memphis to Kingsport, you'll find the perfect adventure in Tennessee State Parks. Wild Side is produced in association with Rockwater TV.